My entire life changed a little over 3 years ago. It was July 4th, and I remember Tara waking me up to tell me that she was pregnant with our second child. I remember being so excited. I already had preconceived hopes and dreams for my unborn child, but those hopes and dreams were shattered in the early hours of December 12th, 2017. Tara hadn't felt the baby move in a while, and we went straight to the hospital. On the way there, I remember praying, or rather pleading my case, that I wasn't strong enough to handle something terrible happening. We were in the hospital room, and it was extremely quiet as we just watched the doctor and waited. The only thing quieter was the heart monitor that made no sound at all. The silence was broken by the simple words of the doctor saying, "I'm sorry." Up to this point, I was not someone who showed a lot of emotion, especially not someone who cried. But this broke every hard exterior I had, and all I could say was no, 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 over and over as tears poured down my face. I felt so powerless. At 27 weeks in the womb, my daughter, Bailey Danielle, died. For the next week, Tara had to be hospitalized for testing and wasn't physically healthy to go home, so I didn't go home either. Post-delivery, we held our daughter as long as we could before letting them take her away. And we were faced with many difficult decisions, but we were also surrounded by close friends and family. There were moments when the pain and the crying was so intense that my nose would just start bleeding. And being someone who is somewhat of a control freak, or rather very much a control freak, it was miserable not being able to control anything. And I remember after the third or fourth day, I gave my house key to my mom and I asked her if she would go by the house and grab my guitar and bring it to me there at the hospital. Playing guitar has always been a great way for me to channel my emotions. And that night when the hospital was quiet, it was really late, I grabbed my guitar and began to lead Tara and myself into worship. Now, up to that point, worship was just felt second nature. It was easy, it came easy. But not that night. Choosing to worship while in pain was the hardest thing I've ever done. It didn't sound or look good. It was messy, it was raw, it was vulnerable. But we worshiped anyways, and we worshiped from a place of brokenness. And God's presence rested upon us in that hospital room, and we experienced insurmountable waves of peace. In Philippians, it talks about God's peace that surpasses all understanding. And the peace that He gave us in those moments of weakness definitely exceeded what our minds could comprehend. Will there always be a scar? Yes. Will I miss her every day? Also, yes. Does it hurt sometimes? Definitely yes. But God's benefits, they're not a one and done kind of deal. You don't spend one moment in His presence and you're good to go without it again, or for the rest of your life. I've had to fight against anxiety and depression, constantly seeking after God's peace. And I've had to learn to accept that life is just life, and it brings about death and difficulties that we do not understand. The great news is that God is always with us, and He is ready and willing to comfort those who are brokenhearted and cover us with His unfailing love and insurmountable peace. And that's my story.